to use my vehicle this summer after I go and put all this money in it. So yeah, really hopeful that we'll be able to do some good racing here.
Where are you at on the front end of things? There was all that magical talk, and there was about what you're going to do with the front end and the front suspension, and then there was all this other talk about all sorts of engine changes and stuff that might be forthcoming.
Well, we haven't made any changes as far as the front suspension goes yet.
We analysis paralysis.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of it. I will say, trying to retrofit an original Corvette and not spend a ton of money and not take a Sawzall and a cutting torch to it, and basically upgrade the front suspension and everything isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world, but I will say on top of that, Randy hurt himself actually at work.
Oh no!
He basically cut the tip of his thumb off. So he was pressing a bearing off of an axle and had a plate on there, and something slipped and the plate came down and. Oh no! Okay, time to go to the hospital. So that set him back too. But yeah, I'm basically entrusting him. The alcohol, switching to alcohol, that is, I will say, gonna happen.
Nice.
I'm committed to that. I really want to try alcohol and see how that works out. So
someday you'll be 21 and you'll be able to.
Yeah, so we'll see. It'll be interesting for sure. But I do know the headers are started. Ben Height called me earlier this week and he asked me,
nice.
"Hey, what do you want me to do with your old headers? Do you want me to save them for you or put them in the scrap pile?" And I will say that it was hard to say put them in the scrap pile. And he's like, "The only reason I'm calling is because I know your uncle and your dad built them, and you might have some sentimental value." Which I do, but at the same point in time, it's not something, you're talking about a set of headers, you're not talking about something small and, they're rusted out. It's like, am I really going to save those? Go out in the garage and have a good cry over my old rusted out headers? It didn't seem like it was worthwhile to keep. So in the scrap pile they went.
Your uncle and your dad are both just like, why is this a discussion?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have thought twice about throwing them in the garbage, right? So I know progress is being made. I actually dropped a vacuum pump off at Randy Jewell's shop yesterday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some of this stuff done and, like I said, getting out there and racing the Corvette a little bit in the spring.
Well, the words echo to me. The conversation that we had here is it's never going to be a road car again. So might better make it the best race car it can be.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I'm actually interested to hear, like with Kelli. I don't know where Kelly's Camaro came from, but it's a beautiful car. And, curious if that was, a family heirloom that was transitioned from a street car into a race car, or if it was always a race car. But, I mean, it's hard to do projects on cars like that. You look at it, and, I mean, Kelly's car, I'm guessing Kelly's car is never going to be anything but a race car either. But,
right.
Yeah. All right, I want to put a lift off. Geez, it'd be really nice to have a one-piece front end that I could take off the car, right? It's like, all right, do I really want to take the saws out to this and cut this off?
There's no going back.
I think that's where you. I think that's where you give the car to somebody else and just tell them this is what I want to do and deliver it to me when it's done because I can't do it myself. So.
Well, Kelly, what's the story on your Camaro?
Well, it was not a family heirloom. That's actually the next project. But mine actually came up from around your area. I went up to outside of Rochester. It was owned by a guy named Chuck Emler. I actually still keep in touch with his son on Facebook. And I got it. I was looking all over online. When I was done juniors, I ran some just street eliminator trophy stuff with like a street car, an 86 IROC that I had bought for a couple years. And then I was actually, my dad was talking about like maybe I should run like stock eliminator or something like that. And I was like, that kind of scares me because I knew my stellar career in junior dragsters off the bat and bold. And I was like, I need to find a pro trade class. So I was actually at the track at Cecil County, the divisional, like years ago with my uncle who ran Super Gas also, and he was helping an alcohol team, so I was sort of just hanging out, walking around, and driving around on the three-wheeler, and I'm in the staging lanes, and I see Super Street, And it's funny because I never really thought about Super Street, although my dad was running Super Gas and Super Comp. But
right.
I looked at it and I was like, man, Super Street, this sounds like I could totally do this. Not that it was easy. It was pro tree. It wasn't terribly fast, which my dad appreciated because my dad still gets nervous when I race, and I'm almost 40. I just thought it was like a great idea. So we started looking at cars, and it was difficult. We were driving around, and we couldn't really find anything that we liked, and we drove up there, and I absolutely fell in love with the car. We took it home. I couldn't fit in it, so we got our chassis guy, Larry King, to basically cut the cage out, fit me in, did some work on it, and as I continued my education and every little cent I ended up making from working on the side, I would just put in the car. So, every year I tried to put more into it and more into it, and I finally got to the point where it was just maintenance. So it was really great when it got to that point. Like it's really at the point right now where I am just so happy with it. It runs great. I always say it makes me look good. But, yeah, that's sort of the story on that car. But it's funny because it's not, like I said, it's not an heirloom. But my dad's first race car was a '68 Camaro too. But definitely wasn't tubbed or anything like that, and it definitely didn't go as fast as mine. But it was still fitting that my first race car was a '68 Camaro like my dad's.
Oh, that's very cool. And I will say I didn't realize that you had bought that car from Charlie Emler. Yeah, I mean, he's still a competitor up here, races at Empire with us, pretty often. I think he primarily races in the 470 class. But, I didn't realize that that car came from this area.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's exactly who it came from. And, before Facebook, we lost touch and everything. And then, it's funny because, you get that deal with, when you sell a car to somebody, it's like, oh, you have so-and-so's old car. Well, what's cool about it is it's very rare to find somebody that says, oh, that's Chuck Emler's old car. Yeah. It always was, oh, that's Kelly's car. Oh, where did that come from? But, you would know, and, John Pelican was, one of the first ones to come up to me and say, oh, my God, I remember that car. Right. So, but, it was a good thing because I could sort of make it my own, and there's pink on it now because I love pink. So, it's definitely a girl's car now.
Well, you've had the car for a while now. I mean, how long have you owned it?
I bought it November 1st of 2003, so I've had it, all over 17 years now. And it's funny because we'll start to talk about things that we did to it, and we're like, okay, this year, it's, okay, well, let's get axles for it. And when you think about it, you're like, okay, when did we put axles in it? And then you realize we didn't put axles in it, and we've owned it for 17 years. It may be time to think about axles. Or something as simple as one time my radiator cracked, and it was I can't believe my radiator cracked. I've only owned this car for 15 years, and I was like, well, yeah, then that radiator was also in there for multiple years when Chuck owned it. So, it's funny because I can't believe I've owned it that long, because sometimes we'll think, oh, it was 10 years, but it's no, it's, I've been running it since, the end of '04 and up until now. I mean, it's definitely, progressed. It was a little bit slower at the beginning, but yeah, now it's definitely progressed. I mean, in 17 years, it's definitely taken on a completely different monster than it was back in '03.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit older than you, so what you're going to find is that time flies thing gets even worse the older you get. So you're same thing, right? With the axles, it's I just changed them. It's let me go back to the logbook. It's oh, yeah, I guess just changing them was 17 years ago. Never mind. So
that's why I hang out with young people, to make me seem young. Maturity level, my best friend's 24, so.
So now I know that one of the interesting things, and I'm kind of curious to hear. Well, Chris has given me the timeout, so he's got a question.
Kelli Barbato is joining us from Bath, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Division I racer. We never actually introduced Kelli.
Hey!
I was gonna let the springboard into the Camaro thing, and then it just took off and got away from me. So just let everybody know who we're talking to, and we got a couple of pictures of the car going up. You had a picture there from the win last year, which is something that we're going to be getting into as well. I can't believe that the car's been owned since 2003.
Oh,
that kind of surprised me when I was just leafing through the Facebook record book, as it were.
Yeah, I knew Kelly. I knew Kelly had owned it for a while, and because Kelly's had it so long, honestly, that's why I thought potentially it may have been a family heirloom, handed down through the generations type of thing. Yeah, I guess, and from there, it's like you're talking about upgrades, and you're pretty good, Kelly, about posting upgrades on Facebook, different projects you're doing on the car, and one of the things that I find really interesting, and I don't know what happened to it, but you, I guess I'll call it, still have Jenkins power in the car?
So I still have the valve cover say Jenkins competition. So when that was one thing I always wanted on the car. I wanted chrome valve covers, and I got them probably at this point maybe about 10 years ago. And at that time, yes, it was a Jenkins motor. My dad worked for Bill. He was the last shop foreman for Bill before he passed away.
Yeah.
And my dad would do the work at Bill's. Bill's even tinkered with it sometimes. Obviously a throttle stop car was not his fancy, but
right.
He'd still tinker with it and things like that. My heads actually had his name on it. I think that's where my carburetor came from. So, I called it a Jenkins motor. So, through the years, when Bill passed away, my dad worked for Black Arrow for a little bit, and now he's working for Gil Davis. So I always gave those engine shops love, but the Jenkins stickers on my valve covers were just sort of like my in memory of Bill, because and when those valve covers were new, that motor was like a Jenkins competition motor. And
right.
I still think, since my dad worked there, technically I can call it a Jenkins motor.
Right.
I am more legit than some people that put the decals on and think that they have a Jenkins motor. Hey, you do you, boo-boo. But, mine was there at one point.
Yeah, and that's super cool. And I was pretty sure that your dad had worked at the shop. I wasn't 100% sure. I'm guessing that when Bill passed away, that the shop just closed down. That was it at that point?
Yes. Once he passed away, there was a time where they could finish up some work. They did have some customers that they had to fulfill some things for, but they had an end date, and it was within the year of when Bill passed. I'm not exactly sure exactly when, but by the end of that year or the end of the next year, again, I forget, time flies. My dad was, Brett Schlichtig, who also worked for Bill, started his company of Black Arrow, and my dad went to work for him. Yeah,
that's super cool. So I'm assuming, other than getting to meet Bill, I mean, I don't know, how long did your dad work for Jenkins?
My dad started there in '98. Bill passed away in 2012, so about 14 years.
So quite a while. So my guess is
I got to know Bill, from my dad. I got to know a lot, with the pro stock teams, because my dad would go to the track and work on the pro stock cars and stuff. So I knew a lot of the pro stock teams, and I'd be able to go into their pits and hang out if I wanted to or something like that. But yeah, I knew Bill. Bill was Bill. Bill is exactly he grunts, he'd say hi to me, but it wasn't like we had a lot to talk about, but
right.
I'd always crack up because people my age really didn't know him, and we'd be at Cecil testing a pro stock car, and he would go ask a young kid about his car, and it'd be like a Camaro, a 94 like I have.
Yep.
And it's the kid's thinking it's just this old guy asking him about his car.
Right.
And I'm you don't know that the reason why that car runs so well is because of Bill.
Right.
You don't really, but I absolutely had huge respect for the man. It was so sad when he passed away and stuff. I know that he taught my dad a lot of stuff, and it deep down, he was a good guy and stuff, and he'd do anything for us. So it was great to be part of that. At least for a fleeting moment in his with him.
Yeah, certainly a legend of the sport. You're not the only one that had a lot of respect for him, obviously. Thousands and thousands of drag racing fans, had really admired, Bill Grumpy Jenkins. And, it was sad when he passed away. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of those guys that, I guess we'll call them my heroes, right? The guys that I've always had a soft spot. I like funny cars. Fuel cars were cool enough, but pro stock was always the class that I really enjoyed, and I'm sure it was because my uncle competed in pro stock, and that was what my dad always liked too. And but yeah, unfortunately, a lot of those guys are just getting up there in age, and they're passing away. And But yeah, I mean, I guess I look at it and say that I feel lucky that I was able to, in a lot of cases, meet some of these people and have conversations with them, and if nothing else, just admire the work that they did and their competitive spirit that they had when they were out at the drag strip. So yeah, you're not the only one, like I said, that really admired what he did. Now you started, you'd mentioned that you started in the juniors.
Yeah.
Now I'm assuming that at that point in time that your dad was racing, and were you basically hanging out at the track with your dad when you were little, type of thing, and really wanted to get into juniors as soon as you could?
Pretty much. I mean, I was trying to think about it today, and I was like, I can't think of when I wasn't at the track growing up. I mean, there were years that my dad was maybe like rebuilding his car and he didn't get to race. He'd take the season off to build a car. I know at one point he took at least the season off to build his Vega, but yeah, I mean, we've just always been at the track. I know there was another couple years that we took off to build our Grand Prix that's owned by Jim Laro now, but I always just remember being at the track, and it's funny because I don't always care about being the driver. I can just be at the track. I'm totally an okay spectator. Yes, I would rather be racing, but but my dad's been racing. My dad's first race he went to was like Cecil County back in like the 60s. My aunt was actually dating a guy that ran stock, I believe.
Okay.
I forget now. His name was Paul Mayo. I know that. I forget which class he ran. People are probably like screaming and hitting their heads on the wall. But my aunt actually took my dad to his first race, and I always blame my aunt. I jokingly, like when I win or like if I have to give a speech, I always blame my aunt. I say, this is all your fault. This is the reason why I'm racing, because you took my dad to a race, and we haven't been able to get away from it. So. That got my dad hooked, and he had a 68 Camaro, then he had a Vega, kind of, followed through with like when everybody had a Vega, dad had a Vega, and then we had our Grand Prix for a while, and that's when I really started being involved with the Grand Prix. I really tried to like learn, because my mom was the crew chief, and I started learning about like throttle stops and things like that, but not until the Camaro my dad drives now is 98. That's when I sort of like took over as crew chief. My mom was starting to like wanting to stay home with like my brother. If my brother didn't want to race at the time, or just stay home and like catch up on house things or work or anything. So I sort of took the reins, and that's when I sort of at that point fell in love with throttle stop racing, which I'm sure some people want to cringe hearing that too. But I do enjoy it, and. When I was running Street Eliminator, my dad was running Super Gas, so obviously we weren't racing at the same time. And I was fine being a spectator, but there comes a time when it's like, okay, I want to be out there too. Like I'm good to be a spectator for just about long enough. Like I'm really good at like if like I'm with my dad or I'm with my fiance, if he's racing. I don't mind it because I do enjoy helping, and I do enjoy that stuff. But like. I just wanted to race, and luckily I had the opportunity to, my parents knew, I basically knew that my birthright was not a race car, and if I wanted a race car, I needed to spend the money myself. I couldn't fit my dad's car. My dad didn't want to stop racing, so we weren't going to share it. So it was like, you want a race car, you better go to school, get a good job, and get it, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I will say it's funny you mentioned that, just because I just started racing basically when my dad passed away, and I raced the car, I don't know, 2-3 times, and then like I said, my dad passed away, and then I basically took the seat over full time. But it's like we had started talking about building another car, because at the time my dad, even though he liked me racing, he wasn't ready to get out of the seat completely either. And it's like, all right, well, how's this going to work, right? We're going to be fighting every week who gets to race this week. So
he liked you racing, but he didn't love you racing his car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I mean, I figured that my dad if my dad were still alive at this point, I wouldn't be driving the Corvette. That I would have had something else, and I don't know what that would have been. I mean, it probably just would have been something boring. Crazy thing is, we had actually, I've never told the story, we had actually talked about building a Saturn. So Saturn was brand new. It was the brand new line for GM, and my dad was like, "Oh, it'd be kind of cool to build a Saturn," and I was I was behind that, and it's like I look now and I'm like, bleh. I'm really glad that we didn't do that.
Yeah.
But with your so I'm curious though. I mean, you mentioned being a good spectator. So generally, I find that what we would call being a good spectator and what really is a good spectator are two different things. So are you really a good spectator, or are you a good spectator if you can be helping somebody?
All right. Can we talk legit right now?
Sure.
I'm a good spectator when somebody I love is still in, whether it's my dad, my fiance, my best friend,
right,
other good friends. I'm a good spectator. If it's my dad or my fiance Don, I will stay sober.
Yep.
Now you know the road we're going down. If my friends are still in and I'm drinking, I'm perfectly happy.
Yep.
I am a perfectly happy spectator, drunk at the racetrack, unfortunately. Or having a couple pops, but that's where I am. I am a good spectator. If my dad wins, I'm happy. He won the divisional this year. Yeah, and part of me, yes. Do I wish I won the divisional at Maple Grove? Yes, I wish I won it.
Sure.
Because we're both the same way. We don't race vicariously through each other, which is good.
Right.
It's a good thing. We have our own thing, and we're both excited when the other one does well. But deep down, both of us want to do well at the same time. I mean, I told you my best friend's 24. Well, that girl's Amanda Boychesco.
Yep.
Her and her dad, I want to do what they do. I want to win the same weekend. I want to do that one day. And I think that would be like an ultimate goal, to both win and both be excited that each other won and that we won ourselves. So
right, agreed. Your car.
I'm a good spectator when I'm drinking.
Well, yeah, and
that's the only way to watch the pros sometimes.
Well, and I will say that I am a good spectator when I can go out and help somebody. I'm not a good spectator to go out and just spectate. It's like, all right, I've been here 30 minutes, I'm bored, I got to get out of here. If someone needs help, yeah, great, I'll be there all day. And I'm just like you, that I enjoy being out at the track, just helping somebody. And
yeah, and my helping even as far as like a fist bump. If you got to do the lucky fist bump,
sure,
that's my job.
Sure.
Sometimes.
Yep.
Some of my friends, it's like, maybe I'm not checking your tire pressure, but I'm there to fist bump you if you need me.
Right. Now, your car, what does your car obviously 1090 index in Super Street, but what kind of mile an hour do you run in Super Street trim?
Right now it's about 152. It depends on like the weather. So even like in the heat, like let's call it like new media in July, June or July, it's still going about 150.
Okay.
Highest I've been is probably like 156. Yeah, it depends. It depends, but it's one of the higher ones. But people are just, I think people see. It started probably back with like even going back before I ran. Like Gary Federico started going 150, and he was winning races, and it made people want to go faster. And that's just like what we all want to do. We all want that speed in the .90 category.
Yep. Mine
sort of happened by accident in a way. And I always joke that my dad doesn't want me to turn around, so he made it so that I don't have to turn around. So that's like the big joke in the family. But it's funny because at one point I was going about 143, 144, and it was like I'm pretty fast. I'm going pretty fast, and then all of a sudden you look around like a year later and you realize everyone's going faster than you.
Right.
So then you're like, okay, I need to jump over them.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then everybody starts catching up to you, and then you feel like you need to make another leap. And that's sort of how it seems to go in all the .90 categories, really.
Oh, for sure.
So, but there is a limit, I do feel. There, that speed can be tough running somebody so much slower than you.
Right.
And I've run guys at ACO flat out. I ran the Harveys, who basically like live at ACO. Hopefully they can still live at ACO, but that's a whole other story for another day. Let's all pray for that. But, and and I'm chasing them, and it's like, it's almost as bad as like if you're running somebody super faster than you and you can't see them.
Right.
Because you don't have any time down there.
Yep.
And it's really difficult. Like you have to think about the style of how you're going to play it. But it's always a chess match. No matter who you're racing, it's a chess match. Do you think they're going to dump? Are you going to dump? Are you do you think they're going to take the stripe, or are you going to take the stripe? Are you dialing honest? Are they dialing honest? It's such a chess game, and I think that's one of the big things I like about .90 racing. I love the mental part of it. It's so fun to me.
And I will agree. I mean, it's a type of racing that I basically grew up on, and I do really, really enjoy it. And it's not that I don't like standard ET racing too. I mean, I'll just do regular bracket racing. But I mean, the index racing, throttle stop racing is what I really, really enjoy. And I'm hoping that, unfortunately, it seems like, we've seen car counts dwindling, over the years, and I'm hoping that we can at least keep these classes going for a little bit longer, just because it's what I really enjoy doing. So I guess selfishly, now, I mean, you have a great series to run. I mean, we've had Rob Keister on the show, I don't know, 5-6 times at this point. So I mean, you are a regular, right? I mean, you basically run all of Rob's races, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, we do. I mean, the only reason we wouldn't is like family obligation. Like
right.
This actually this year we weren't supposed to run the pig roast, but after I won the first race, my mom's like, well, you gotta go. You gotta go. You're leading. I think I was leading, or I was close. I think I was leading, but it was one of them. I had, and my mom's like, you gotta go. And that's what's great about her. She's so like cool with it. Like, I think if we both lost first round at that first race, she would have been like, y'all are going on vacation. But but it was nice that she was able to let us go. And other than but besides that, I mean, we basically would go to all of Rob's races. They're great. You screw up first day, which I did the first race this year, and you win the next day. I mean, it's when you get a second chance, and the people that are there are just great. It's fun. It's a one-day race. There's good and bad in that. I mean, there's sometimes you're running ragged. It's hot. Like, I won a race there. I won the pig race like 5 years ago, and it was hot, and my car was like, oh my God, what are you doing to me? And like, I won, and I got out, and they're calling me for the top 8 race, and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to die. I just want to go in the motorhome and sit under the air conditioning for an hour and have like a margarita or pina colada or something. I need something cold. But I had to go back up and race, and they have you running ragged a little bit, but you do get a race in a day. So I will say that's awesome about it. Sometimes some of the tracks, it's a little bit more of a slower cadence, which is nice. You could kind of get out and have a drink of water and
right.
relax for a minute. But they have their pros and cons, because even at a divisional, I will say I love divisionals. But even sometimes with them, if there's such a delay, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I want to just finish my round. Like, I remember one time they did an inverted schedule at Division 1 races, and it was basically Super Street, I think, ran first, and then Super Street ran last. So I ran at 9:45 in the morning and 9:45 at night.
Okay,
and I was at Maple Grove, so I was concerned because of, theirs can be due at Maple Grove.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking at the lights, and the lights look perfectly clean. I'm like, I got no problems. I'm sitting there, and it's funny because like there's people that are like nervous because like, oh my God, it's Maple Grove at night. And I'm like, dude, like look at the lights. The lights are fine. There's no halos. It's completely clean. There's no humidity out there. You'll be fine. So like my fiance is checking on his friend, and his friend's like freaking out. Like, he's like, I don't want to go down this track. I don't want to go down this track. So he like figures, let me go check on Kel, make sure she's okay. He comes in the room and he goes, you okay? I go, I'm hungry. I'm just hungry. I just want to eat. I want dinner. I'm hungry. Like, I just was more hangry than anything. Yeah. But, that's, it's like a 12-hour day for 2 runs. And that can happen. And that's the thing. It's like one of them, there's pros and cons to both of the races, to the .90 Association races and the Division 1 races. And neither of them are anything that Rob or Dave Mode has any control over, really. It's sometimes how the track wants to run things, and but in general, Rob's races are awesome. I enjoy them. I do well at them. It's not because I do well at them. I probably wouldn't like them if I didn't do well at them. But
something to be said for that.
I love running all different kinds of races. I love nationals. I love divisionals. I like a bracket race every now and then. I like a test and tune every now and then. You know, they're all fun.
This sounds like a Toby Keith song.
If it's drag racing, I like it.
Something along those lines, yeah. Live chat's, well, I was going to say live chat's waking up a little bit. Jeff Jackson's waking up.
Oh, which I'm sure Kelly knows Jeff from online and you know, the message boards and stuff like that. And I guess I'm curious with regards to running Super Street, and you know, Jeff Jackson's a perfect example of this. I mean, he always has run Super Street. I mean, he'll run an occasional Super Gas, but basically, you know, runs Super Street. You've never moved up, even though, I mean, your car's fast enough to run Super Gas. Why have you always stayed in Super Street? Is it just so you're not in the same class as your dad, or?
Rob's listening too.
Funny you say that. Well, actually, when I go to national events, you know, we don't really go to Epping because Epping is like 9 hours away for the national.
Yeah.
Just never really fit into our schedule to like go up there. We do like going to Virginia. It's probably our longest ride, about 6 hours, but it's such a beautiful facility. We love it. But that national, since there is a Super Street, I will run Super Gas there. Maple Grove is 45 minutes away from my parents' house where my car is in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Yep. So, you know, it's nice. You know, that's a 45-minute national event. I'm running Super Gas, absolutely. So, actually, this year we are building a car for my dad and I to share. A Super Street car.
Okay.
So when I'm running it in Super Street, we're going to trade off. Again, we may have some hurt feelings in here. You know, who's going to drive it different times? We're going to go to both. You know, I think we can probably swing it at a Rob race. I'm hoping. Yeah. You know, to be able to put. But I feel like I always say, if your cars are behaving, you can do anything. But you know, so when one starts misbehaving, in that case, you just park that one for the day and you go jump in the other one. But we're building another car, and I think when I run it in Super Street, when it's my turn to run it, I'm going to run it in Super Street, and I'm going to run my car in Super Gas. Because it actually doesn't do bad in Super Gas. I got down to like 8 cars at the Keystones. In 14. So, I mean, I've done well with it in Super Gas. I used to, before there was a Super Street Association, I would run it in Super Gas with my dad because it was only Super Gas running, and it was like, well, I'm there with Dad. Sure. I would run Super Pro sometimes, and then, you know, when my dad felt comfortable with me, A, running that fast, and B, doing it on my own, because there's sometimes, you know, he's running and he's not there with me. Right. There's times that he has to work and he literally drops the rig off and he's like, here you go. I'll come back on Sunday and pick it up. You know, he's done that before. He doesn't like to do that because he likes being with me, but, you know, we like to hang out together. But, you know, he's done that before to make sure I can race. Right. But, you know, so, I mean, the car does actually do well in Super Gas. I just love chasing so much, and that's a horrible thing to say, but, I mean, you know, you could ask that about a lot of people that run Super Street sometimes, you know, and it's a heavy car. I mean, I really can't take a lot of weight out of it, so, I mean, it's, you know, 2,800 pounds, you know, it's 29 right now. I mean, I could maybe get it down to like 2,050, but that, you know, it's not really, it's still a heavy car. Yeah. So, you know, I could run it in Super Gas, and I will be doing that more this year because of the new car. But, you know, I just enjoy Super Street. I enjoy, yeah, maybe it's the chasing part. Maybe it's I do well with it. It's a lot less stressful. Like the 370 tree can be tough sometimes with some people. My car seems to be okay with it, but I am forcing it to work a lot harder than it does in Super Street. So there's that. You know, I think just the engineer in me probably just likes the overall. I enjoy, and also. And this is my another excuse for running Super Street at the divisionals, and even sometimes at like the Rob races, depending on how the car count, you know, how many cars, what the car count is. Yeah. I enjoy going up and watching my dad run, and my dad enjoys watching me run. Sure. And it's nice, especially at like a divisional, you have that ability. He comes up and watches me run, and you know he can check my tires, and he can be on the starting line with me, and I can do the same for him. I can check his tires. I can be that runner if he needs something. Right. You know, it's tough when you're by yourself sometimes. You know, and it's nice to be able to have a helper with you. Oh, absolutely. You know, if need be.
Yeah. No, I mean it is so much nicer. Yeah, I mean, you can do it by yourself for sure, but yeah, I mean, it's nice to have just one person there helping you, doing, even if it is just, like you said, the menial work of, check the tires and, do the fuel and just little things like that. It is nice to have a helper big time. So I can certainly, I can certainly understand that. Now, I guess, so you kind of alluded to it earlier in the show. So the new car, the project you're building now, is a family heirloom?
That is the family heirloom. So it's a 94 Camaro.
Yeah.
My mom actually bought it for my dad for his 40th birthday. So
can I tell you how much I was hoping she'd say Saturn?
So when I guess that'd be like in 90, so like 4 years later, I guess it would be, I got my driver's license, and I wanted like a third-gen Camaro. I always liked the third-gen.
Yeah.
My parents are like looking at them for me, because I guess they were going to surprise me for my birthday or whatever, and they're looking, and they're seeing like there's no airbags, there's no ABS. We're going to give our 16-year-old daughter a car that has no safety features. So they come home one night and say, here's the deal. This car is worth $10,000. Kelli Blue booked it. You give us $5,000. You work all summer long. You give us $5,000 into your car. I said, deal. I work all summer. I get the car. It's my car. I drove it to. Well, actually, it's funny because my high school was right near Jenkins competition.
Okay.
So my dad would drive me to school every day in the Camaro, and when I had my learner's permit, he would make me drive it. He's like, "You're going to drive to school every day, and I'm going to be in the passenger seat, and you're going to learn how to drive this car because it's low. You need to watch out for speed bumps and things like that. You got to make sure you don't go too fast in it because it was a Z28. It's fast. It was a fast car to give a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And at a private Catholic all-girls school, which was funny that I rolled in with that every day. Luckily, I didn't have exhaust back then. I should have put exhaust.
I say, is that school still standing or did it burn down?
Well, now we got it done. So, I got it, and then, a couple years later, I got my race car, and it was my baby. I will say, through high school, through college, it was my baby. I drove it to school. I cleaned it all the time. That was, like, my baby. Well, when I got my race car, all the money went to the race car. The other car kind of just sat. I'd clean it, every now and then. It sat a lot. It sat at my house. It sat at my parents' house. It just sat. It was awful. I'm like watching it sort of start to decay, and I'm like getting upset. So my dad goes, "Why don't we make it a race car?" I was like, "All right, what are you thinking?" He's like, "This 1150 index is looking good." I said, "All right." So we start building the car. We start taking it apart like a couple years ago and stuff, and we're like, start playing with it. It's like a father-daughter project. Well, COVID hits. Now, at this point, we're maybe 2 or 3 years in. Well, COVID hit. We don't think we're racing last year, so we just start working on it.
Yeah.
We just start going hammer down on it. Well, we start to race, and at one point when we realized, oh, my God, we may start to race, we actually visited the other cars, and we're like, oh, hey, let's focus on these. So we did get to the point where, like, wow, we could get this thing done, pretty soon.
Yeah.
So in the process of, like, because my dad jokes, like, give him too much time to think, and he keeps thinking about things. Well, we found a great deal on a big block. So we're like, okay, 1150 index is so not going to happen now. I think we're a little too fast for 1150 index. So I go, wait a second. How much index racing are we going to do? We have an open trailer, which would, fit a third car, because we have a stacker right now.
Yep.
We had an open trailer when I just started my car. I didn't have a trailer for it. I had a Trailblazer and the open trailer, and I drive it to the track. My silver car. So we had this trailer we kept. My dad actually just bought a brand new pickup truck, so I have a new tow vehicle.
Yeah. And
my dad's like, I said, why don't we make it a super street car? Why don't we make it everything? Why don't we make it a 10.0, because now 10.0 index, now it's probably going to be closer to 10.0 index, a Pro Dial, Super Street, Super Pro, like a versatile car.
Yep.
And he's like, that's a great idea. So, we're leaning towards Super Street right now because, like, we're doing so much, like, .90 racing,
right.
And that's what we'll do. Now, some races that, like, overlap with maybe, like, a Super Pro race, we'll run Super Pro there. If there's maybe index racing, maybe we'll run the index stuff. But, we thought it's probably going to find a home in Super Street now. So that's sort of the heirloom. And here's a note to all you kids at home. Never build something based on sentimental value, because it is so not worth it financially. I feel like Joe Exotic, I'm never going to financially recover from this. But it has been such a fun project. I mean, I'm not going to lie, we've yelled at each other. But, we're a team, and we're, it's just because we're both, our hearts and souls are into it at this point. But we're really excited to, debut it. We're hoping, depending on timeline and, when things get done, building a race car is always fun. The first time you're trying to, figure out ways to, where to put here, where to mount this, where to wire this, things like that. So, Lord knows when we're going to have it done. I'm hoping early, but the good thing is the other two cars really didn't need a lot, because we only raced from June to the beginning of October. So, look, run count, like I said, I'm putting axles in the other car, but I mean, I looked at it the other day and I was like, I could have this thing running in a weekend if we had the axles, and heck, I could put the old ones in, go buy some tires, and I'm ready to run.
Yep.
And, pretty much same with my dad. So, it's, those didn't need a lot of work. And, we kind of looked at all the parts that we had laying around for the new car, and we were like, this thing could run this year. So, we're looking forward to adding it to the track. We're hoping the other two behave and we can introduce a third car without much drama. But, we're really excited. It's finally kind of coming to fruition. It's been a thing that we've been talking about for the past 5 years, and it's looking like it's going to be closer and closer now.
That's super cool. I would say, what were you going to say, Chris?
I forgot.
Oh, you forgot?
There's a bunch of stuff that the live chat keeps popping up with new things.
Yeah.
Your Saturn reference got Eric Macchiaroli.
Yeah.
Suggested that it would be like building an Arrow.
It sort of would be. A more modern, uglier
I really
Arrow.
thought of him when building this. I can't wait to go see Rick and say, bro, let's admit this. This is a cute story, but this sucked. And you'll probably, I don't know, he's the nicest guy in the world, so I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I feel like I want to go over to him, because it's a very similar story. Although I did not bring it to prom, I had a limo.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not bring it to prom. I know that's his story. He drove it to prom. I don't even think my brother's friend drove it to prom, because my brother's friends were in love with that car. But nobody drove it to prom. So unfortunately, I don't have that story. But I did drive it to school a lot.
Now, did your brother ever get into racing? I mean, you alluded to the fact that he really wasn't into it. I guess we'll call it 20 years ago. Did he ever get into racing?
He was into juniors. He had. It's funny. We had a car as soon as juniors came out, in '93 when everybody started. We were kind of like the OGs. My number was 1036. I was the 36th person to be numbered in Division One. I guess 37th if you count 1,000. But anyway, we were one of the first, and we got a car built. It was a custom, one-off. It was beautiful, but it was built for when everybody was going 15s.
Right.
So, he got a KCS when we both kind of outgrew that car, size-wise, obviously, children grow. And he got a car, it was a KCS, and all of a sudden, he just started, doing well, winning races, going rounds, and we're like, oh my God, this kid's awesome. But, and he was very good. He finished, third in the track points, the year we really went for it, and he even missed a race. It was... He was good. He would even come to him for advice on bottom bulb racing. I'm like, how do you do this? How are you so consistent? And he's just like, oh, it's just you do this. I'm like, no, it's not like that.
Right.
Not everybody can do that. That's really good. So he aged out. Excuse me. He aged out, and he ran some of his street cars for a little bit, and then he just sort of found a girlfriend, married her, has 2 kids now, and sort of went that route, which is awesome. My niece, she'll come to the track once a year, and she'll come to the Keystones because they live up near there.
Yep.
And the year my dad went to the finals, this kid has only had gone to the track one other time, and I don't even think she remembers it. She was climbing under my inside my car like a jungle gym.
Yeah.
That was her thing. She just thought it was like a jungle gym. So the next year, my dad's in the final. We're driving down to the staging lane, or I think it was before he got his bye to the final. It may have been like third round or something. And she goes to me, she goes, Pop's gotta win. Pop's gotta win. I'm like, how do you know this? Like, oh my God. I'm like, this girl's competitive already. So as soon as like she found out my dad won, she's jumping up and down. She's so excited, and we're like, Pop's got to buy the final. He's going to the final, and she like understood it and everything, and like, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'd love if she showed an interest. I think Pop would buy her a car in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Obviously we're not going to push, but she's. And I joke. I'm like, if she's anything like Mike was, like, this kid's got some talent. Like, this kid's gonna have some talent. But I've also watched her curve her Power Wheels thing, so I also realize she drives like me on the street. So, but he went off a different way. Doesn't mean like, hey, I told him he could jump in the red car. We call it the red car, the '94, the new car.
Yeah.
That you can jump in that whenever you want, and hey, feel free. He went to, you can, it's sort of like once you end juniors, there's like your fork in the road. You can build a car, you can go keep racing, or you sort of stop and you kind of grow a family, and then maybe you come back, maybe you come back and race, or your children race. But,
right.
He went one way and I went the other.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people that I know that, kind of like your brother, I guess we'll call it, that, raced when they were younger, go and have a family and leave racing for 20, 25 years until their kids are grown. And once their kids are grown, that's when they get back into it. But yeah, the reason I was asking that question is because I was kind of alluding to the fact it's like, well, maybe since you're going to have this third car and no full-time driver for it, maybe your brother would want to hop in it.
There's a possibility. We may put, if there's like I said, he lives really close to Maple Grove. So if there's a race at Maple Grove that we feel like running, and we're hoping we can do maybe some doubling up, running it in the class, the same class with two different drivers, hopefully. We have no problems with him running it. I joke, I told Amanda she could run it because she's never run a door car. So I said, yeah, you want to learn how to race a door car? Just jump in.
And now, I mean, it's not just... I would say it's not just you and your dad racing, though, too, but your fiancé, Don, drag races as well. I'm assuming you met Don probably at the racetrack?
Yes, we met at the racetrack. Actually, I mean, it was one of them. I saw him, he saw me, we never really talked. And then the first day I ran Super Gas, I ended up running him like third round. And
no kidding.
Yes, my first day of Super Gas, I got to the third round accidentally. It was like I couldn't run the number. And it's funny because he was watching me. I joke. I can't say he was stalking me because his mom's listening. But anyway, so the story was I had nothing. My dad just goes, you want to run, he felt comfortable with me running Super Gas. He was like, you want to run Super Gas? Fine. And I was like trying to find a number. Now I'm in the tens. I'm maybe 10, 20. I can't go near it. First round, I get his former partner that he used to race with. Don goes up to him and says, listen, she can't even go near a 90, just don't go red. Yeah. Well, damn it, if he doesn't go red and I make it to the second round. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take every number, like as many numbers as I can out of this throttle stop. And just like, because I now have Scott Wenny. So this is how long ago this was. This is
okay.
So this one Scott had his Camaro Roadster.
The Roadster, yeah.
So I run him, and I'm like a sitting duck. I have no idea. And I end up winning on like a double breakout, I think. I was like 86. He was like 84 or something. But I was like, holy shit. I'm sorry. I don't know if
It's fine.
I'm in the third round in my first Super Gas race. Like, this is easy. I learned shortly that it's not easy. So I go, okay, who do I got next? Well, Don rolls around the corner and goes, I think me and you third round. I'm like, oh. And, like, it was one of them, and this is like, I know this is like a guy's thing, but I looked at him and I go, Don's looking kind of cute right now. Again, his mom's listening. She's probably, like, rolling her eyes at me. So, yeah. So now I'm starting to flirt. I'm like, all right, I got nothing. This was when Don was on kill in the .90 association. I think he finished, I'm looking at his plaque right now. He finished third that year. He was on kill. So I'm like, I'm trying to flirt. I'm like, I got nothing in my bag right now. I'm just gonna flirt. Well, little did I know he didn't care that I was flirting. So I'm trying and trying and trying. He ended up beating me. I forget what it was. I think I took like way too much straight. But I was new at Super Gas. I really didn't know what I was doing. So then, like, right after, I just go, oh my God, that was such a good race. And I gave him a hug, and I was just like, I was hooked from that. I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. So, and it's been like that ever since. And now he's retired, so now he races vicariously through me. And sometimes he actually came, when I had a chance to win the championship this year, he actually surprised me at ATCO. And it actually, I'm sure some people would think like that would get me all like worked up. It actually calmed me, and I was like, I felt like, oh, I got this now. Now, I didn't get this. I finished second, but I thought I did. But, you know, it's great to have somebody like him. He won the championship back in 16, and when I had a chance this year, and we both actually had a chance to win our championships in 16, and I completely, like, discombobulated. I fell apart. I, like, mentally couldn't handle it. He was the one that, like, they had to come up to him and say, hey, did you win that round? Oh, you won the championship. Like, that's as much as he really paid attention. And I really tried to do that this year, and at the very least not let it bother me. And it was great to have him to be like, okay, you've been there before, tell me how to do this.
Sure.
And he's so great to bounce things off of. We kind of can just read each other, like when he's, you know, he'll walk over and say what's going on. You know, he'll get a read from some people, and we can figure out how we're dialing the car. So, you know, I really miss him at the track. I hope he comes back soon. I'm hoping, you know, he finds something that he loves. He had his Vega, he sold it. You know, I'm hoping something wows him and he's back soon enough and we can be together again.
I didn't know
I
didn't know he sold the Vega. When did he sell the Vega?
He sold the Vega actually last year, right before COVID got really bad.
Oh.
So I'm going to say like early March, end of February, he sold it. A guy from Indianapolis came and picked it up, fell in love with it, and wanted it. So
I've always liked that car.
Seller's remorse.
Yeah.
We definitely were both like, especially like when you go on Facebook and you see like memories and you see like the big wheel stands.
Right. Yeah.
Or when like when he won the championship, it's like one of them. We look at each other like, did we make the right decision? But we're like, I don't know, but we can't change it now.
Right.
We're sort of stuck now, so we sort of need to move on. I mean, he drove for somebody for a year. That guy took his car back to drive it for himself. He was going to start racing two cars and stuff. But you know, he enjoyed running the HHP car for a year, it taught him some stuff about, you know, he was running as fast as I was in Super Street, and it was fun to run with him in Super Street. We never raced each other in a round. We ran each other in a time run once, and that was fun.
Yep.
But, it was nice. I want him back in, like, Super Gas. I want him in another class. I want him in any class but mine, because I want to both win. If you're running the same class as your significant other, you can't both win.
Right, that's right. Yeah. I mean, it would be cool. I will say, though, it would be cool. I've heard a few stories of father sons, husband wives running each other in the finals against each other, right? And that would be a pretty cool story to tell too. But unfortunately, that's usually not what happens. Usually, what happens is it's father son, husband wife running each other third round, and that's not as exciting of a story to tell later on.
No, it's not. And luckily, I haven't had to. I was ashamed because, like, I jokingly said, I think it was last year. Me and my dad were actually laddered apart. We could have both made the finals of the Keystones. We were both on the opposite side of the ladder. I got the third round, and then he did get to the final and lost. And then there was a race. I didn't win. I forget if I won or runner-up, but Don was on opposite sides, and he got the third round, and I did get to the final. But I was like, oh, my God. It's like sometimes you're laddered up, and it's just like one of you can seal the deal, but not the other one.
Right.
And that's tough. So, yeah, it would be nice. And maybe with me moving around between Super Gas and Super Street, maybe I can find myself, like, running my dad in the final in one of the classes, we'll see. It'd be fun.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe Don will want to hop in a 94 Camaro once in a while, too.
Yeah, that's pro. Yeah, I'll put him in that. Sorry, you get the slow car.
Well, I will say I always loved his Vega. I mean, being an old guy, I have a soft spot in my heart for Vegas that are still running in Super Gas and Super Street. And I thought his car. Yeah. I thought that was.
It was great. And when he won the championship, it sort of was just. There's been a lot of tough stuff with that Vega. It had mechanical gremlins. It was a pain in the butt. When it struggled with the rate tree for a while, and it sort of in 16 it all came together, and the car just was like unstoppable. And I mean, we both were in finals on the same weekends. Sometimes I would see, I would feel. I remember one time I won, and I remember running back. We were at Acco, so I parked my car right before the staging lanes, like where the old tower was, and he's in the final, and I go running over, and I go, all right, I did my job, it's your turn. And unfortunately, he lost to Goldman, but, it was fun to be able to both be in a final on the same day. That's as close as we've gotten to just both winning on the same day. But, and again, we do miss the Vega. I mean, hey, if you really like it, let me know. I'll send you some T-shirts. We got some championship T-shirts.
I do like it. I've always liked that car.
And I got some good pictures of that thing. But I could go on about that car. We've had a love-hate relationship with that car.
Yeah.
And it's one of them, I think sometimes the hatred sort of forced us to put it on racing junk, and then when it left, we're like, God, we really missed that car. That was a really cool car. But and that's the thing. A lot of people loved it, and I think it was one of them. Because it wasn't like a Camaro. Because he jokes, Camaros are Me Too cars, but that was before Me Too was something else. But there's a lot of Camaros out there. There's a lot of roadsters and stuff. It was sort of a one of a kind thing, and it had its heyday just recently, and that was cool. It was cool to watch him run it and stuff. When he'd do a crazy wheelie, first I'd be concerned, and then when he'd come back and have a smile on his face, I'm like, all right.
Well, if you get me one of those shirts, I'll wear it on the show once the weather warms up here a little bit. I mean, like I said, I always liked that car. I thought it was a cool car. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. We'll hook up and I'll get one of those shirts from you. Well, I mean, and I will say it's amazing. We have so many people that we have so many people that are hesitant to come on the show when I tell them it's an hour, because they wonder, it's like, what am I going to talk about for an hour? And I tell all the people the same thing. It's like, look, all we're going to do is basically talk racing. We're at a bench race, right? And it's like, here we are. Yeah. An hour is over. We're it's gone, done with.
Podcast for a minute. I was a podcast host for a minute a couple years ago, and people would be always like scared, like, oh my God. And like, I would bring Amanda on all the time. Like, she would do good, and I'd bring her on, and she's always like, what do I got to say? What do I got to do? I'm like, talk to me like we're talking on the phone, and she'd be fine. And that's what you do. You just talk like you're talking on the phone, and that's all you want to do. You just want to talk to your like racing friends and just, and it's January. It sucks right now. That's all you're doing. You're not getting ready. You're prepping to go to the racetrack. You're prepping your race car for, in hopes that in a couple months,
right,
we're allowed to go racing.
Right.
And that's a big if. We're hoping.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We definitely, we have so much more that I wanted to talk about, and certainly we need to, Amanda is another good potential guest for us in the future here as well. I guess before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank, sponsors, anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like to kind of get in here before we let you go?
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so obviously my parents, because I would definitely not be where I'm at because of that without them.
Right.
Don is, again, like I said, he's retired right now, but he's never, ever said anything about, me going to the races. He's been so supportive. He's actually, I will like FaceTime him in my winner circle pictures, so he's still in them when he's not there right now. So
that's
he's
cool.
Been awesome. Obviously his parents, because they're letting me use their bar right now to talk. Thanks, Margo. Larry King, we call him the best kept secret of drag racing, and he is. That car works really good. Adam Lambert at PRS, he's awesome. I'm actually going to go visit him tomorrow for shocks from my dad. Select Converters, Eddie Alessi is the man. He is so awesome. E-Man at ET Transmissions, he's building transmissions for all of our race cars, and I'm glad that he's out there with his Super Comp Dragster, and I was glad to help him with it last year, and he's awesome. He's great to bounce things off of and things like that. Gil Davis Racing Engines, that's where Dad works right now, and he's building my engines. And I really can't think. I'm sure there are people that are probably like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't mention me. Oh, shout out to Amanda. She's my bestie, and she's awesome.
Well, this won't be
one champion.
Well, this won't.
I will say, no banquet spared our livers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
we talked about. I was talking to my friend Bill Hartford a couple weeks ago, and it was actually probably a while ago, and he goes, well, I guess no banquet. And I go, yeah, but think about it. If we would have been there and Amanda won the championship, dear Lord, we would have had to go move in on Tuesday and leave on a Tuesday. Because we get rowdy when we finish dead last, so...
I would say it probably would have made for an interesting speech for sure. And I would have
just spent my time at the indoor water park. I've actually raced Larry Wiggins, the NHRA tech guy, down the water slide there. I kicked his butt. He's probably going to deny that, but yeah, he's another guy I'd like to thank. If I ever need a chassis cert or I have any chassis questions, especially with this new build, he has been there. So helpful, and I'm so grateful for him. And I took him to In-N-Out last year. That's all he wanted to go to.
Well, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show, Kelli. Like I said, you can let Amanda know that I'll be sending her a message to try and get her on the show here as a guest.
Got to follow up with Eric too.
Yeah, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Anytime you're stuck for guests, I don't mind coming on and talking about myself for an hour.
Well,
fantastic.
We're going to hold you to that.
What are you doing in 2 weeks?
Questions. I mean, I don't know. I feel bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, really do appreciate you joining us tonight, and we're definitely going to keep in touch with you because, we definitely want to find out, not only how the racing season's going, but how the '94 Camaro's coming along and how you're making out with that. So we're definitely 100% going to be talking to you again before 2021 is over for sure.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You very much, Kelli.
Thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
See ya.
Kelli Barbato. I just wrote in the live chat that guests like Kelli make this easy.
Oh, super easy. Yeah, ridiculously easy, right?
Oh my gosh. Rob's saying come down to the .90 races at Numidia. Eric saying come and run the Western New York Super Route Association races. Rob saying leave my racers alone. You all have to come to my place. It was very busy, very busy. Jeff was in there amid all that stuff. Sean checked in at one point. Racers for Rescues is now a little bit closer. Eric's in Buffalo.
Yes.
So he can, weather permitting, make it a little bit easier.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So I'm looking forward to finding out what they're up to because with the way everything has happened, I'm sure they've been busy.
I would have to guess. Yeah, I would have to guess that's probably true. Yeah. So we'll definitely have to have Eric, if Eric on for sure, find out what's going on with them.
So at the end of last year, we didn't have a lot of the derby stuff that we wanted to do, and everything was put on hold, and we couldn't do what we wanted to do, and there was a small part that's of me that started to miss the New Year's Eve party that we used to do.
Uh-huh.
And it's in the back of my mind. It's still in the back of my mind that we might be able to do something like that again someday. I don't know if it's such a massive undertaking that you really got to know that you've got the support. But if we could tap a portion of the drag racers that pay attention to this, if we get some of the drag racers to come to the party that we used to have and put them together with some of the derby folks.
Fisticuffs would be breaking out.
What's that?
I'd say fisticuffs would be breaking out.
No, I don't think so at all. Just the conversations about the big block and the engine combinations and the gearing. You'd be surprised the amount of terms that overlap with launch and trying to get your gearing right so that you can get off quick, but you're not spinning the wheels. Because wheel spin is engine heat that's not needed and stuff, and quick turnarounds. And there's a lot of the stuff that we didn't get to talk about on Mondays that we would have gotten to talk about that we ended up hitting on, just sort of skirting around the conversations of what was happening in Pennsylvania there with Kelli, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we've talked about this on the show in the past.
Jeff's asking if I'm working on your headers. I'm hammering out the last end now.
Yes. Yeah, I say, Rob and I have talked about this. I'm sure we talked about it on the phone. I mean, I really would like to get, all of us together at one racetrack for sure. I mean, not only would it be good racing, but I just think it would be really fun for all of us to be at the same place at the same time. So yeah, hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah, I would definitely look into the Holiday Inn again. It's right off the thruway. It's right here in town. It's easy to get to.
Yep.
And when we did it, we rented out the whole Holiday Inn. We took the place over, and it was a ton of fun. We raffled off a car there. Ever tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we raffled off a bunch of cars there. It was fun.
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Yeah, I'm not starting to plan now. We usually start putting that together around end of August, September. So we got some time.
Okay. Get to work.
It would be fun. Jeff Jackson says he wants to go.
I say he's got he's got the money to fly out here for a New Year's Eve party. That's not a problem.
Gosh, I mean, we did it. It was something like a $300 ticket for a couple, and it included a buffet dinner, champagne toast at midnight, and it included your room, and it included open bar.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was too awful bad. All things
with open
considered.
Bar, yeah, that's not unreasonable.
We drank them out of rum one year. There wasn't anything left because there's an attached bar to the room where the party was. There's an attached bar called Bowie's, and they were bringing over boxes. And it's like there's nothing left, so they went down to the cellar, and there was nothing left. They were completely out of the rum.
Yeah, my guess is that if you go back to the Holiday Inn, they're going to raise the prices on you.
They did that all 3 years.
Yeah. It's like, we keep estimating what our alcohol costs are going to be, and every year they exceed it somehow.
Destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a matter of, basically, how much alcohol can you bring? Because that's how much we'll drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like Eric's in. Eric's gonna be raffling off rescue pets. I
say, maybe we could do a fundraiser for Racers for Rescues, right?
We could. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that got me is when we used to do it is I would take care of the ticketing, and I would take care of the apparel table, and then all the raffles and stuff. So I was busy right up until everything stopped. The 50-50 and stuff, I was busy right up until 11:30.
Yeah.
11:30 the ball drops, and that's that. And everybody around me is already
hammered.
It's like, well, now I got to catch up because I really don't want to. I don't want to be handling money and tickets and trying to give things away for door prizes and whatever.
I don't want to be the only sober person here. Yeah, I think you're a maniac. I would want no part of organizing that. I might attend, but yeah, no way am I.
It was a ton of fun getting most of the stuff really. It was a giant advertisement. We put DVDs and leftover shirts and stuff on the giveaway table. A couple of people made donations and stuff, but it wasn't anything crazy. We did an RC car, and then one year we did a Crown Victoria, a pickup truck, a Blazer, and there was a 70s Cadillac. One year we did all those. We just did 3 of them. There was a Lumina one year, Lumina in a full size that we did one year.
Well, if Eric comes, I'm not sure if his car is still for sale, but if his car is still for sale come New Year's Eve, we'll raffle that off.
I know there's people that would want the engine out of it, hands down, right away.
I mean, Eric's car is a great car.
Listen, this is getting scary.
I say Eric's car is a great car. I mean, I'm not sure why he wants to sell it, but hey, if someone buys that car, they're going to get themselves a great piece. I mean, that car works well, but hopefully he doesn't sell it so that we can go. We can be out at our races this year racing with us.
Can you get any period correct small block Chevy headers
For a Plymouth Arrow?
No. For '63 Corvette.
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably. I think my
Needs
headers
minor touch-ups.
I think my headers will be done by then. Hopefully, yeah. We should be in good shape.
Awesome. All right, let's get out of here.
All right.
We covered it all. It sounds like we got some stuff to talk about later.
Exactly.
All right, we'll see everybody next time. Thanks a lot. This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.